We are live. Okay. So, welcome to the show at the end of the internet. Talk about dumb shit, whatever, it's fine. So, leading in today, the day, September 18th, the year of our Lord 2020, Sony let up pre orders on their PlayStation 5. That shit sold out in, what was it, 55 seconds?
Something like that, yeah. It was less than a minute.
Oh, incredibly quickly. It's
How's it
just,
feel to have one secured?
yeah.
Uh,
I feel Sony, they made a good move. They let you, if you were a loyal PlayStation user, they let you sign up for a little pre order thing. They set aside so many units for people to go in and reserve their own to prevent this, which that was cool. But the scalping, holy shit, the scalping. I mean, less than a minute. Everything was sold out on every platform. God damn.
so this is a side effect of a more convenient marketplace. People being able to go online and just pre-order things at their leisure, which is it's great for a certain kind of person, but as far as I know, the only people who the only company that people were able to walk in and secure pre-orders for were GameStop, because GameStop will always have a designated number of units that will be shipped to every store. So, but as far as Walmart, anywhere that will just allow their entire stock to be secured via the internet, gone in less than a full minute.
Yeah, scalping, I mean, that's always been a problem, especially now, but yeah, fuck. I just.
Well, there was the Great Scalper's Paradise of 2006
Oop.
with the Wii. I don't think it's going to be that bad.
Really?
Oh yeah, that was like the worst one by far.
How quickly did they sell out then?
I don't remember how quickly the Wii sold out. It was like pre-orders definitely sold out on day one, and it was borderline impossible to find a Wii in a store for months, close to a full year after the console launched,
Jesus.
which is insane because I feel as though the Wii was the console didn't even get patches for its games. You know what I mean? It's not saying it was a bad console, but definitely a bit of an overhyped situation, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's probably not going to be that bad. Sony has gone out of their way to say that there's going to be plenty at launch. Don't freak out. You're going to be able to secure one of these.
Still, I feel bad for the.
So,
Yeah.
I was gonna say, so like, what's the deal? Are they going? Is that like is that it for the pre-orders? Like, is that
No,
all that they had like produced at the time, or they're
no.
gonna do another wave?
It's going to be staggered pre-order waves.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is nice, but I still feel bad for the poor suckers that are gonna be paying like $1,000 for the shit that scalpers have been going on. Like, I don't know. It still fascinates me that there are
I mean,
bots for this kind of thing. That people set up multiple fucking robots to just go in and buy the shit instantly. It's just in my mind, if you have enough money that you can buy like 25 PS5 pre-orders or whatever else, what do you need the money for? Honestly.
who
Because you
knows?
can
They might
turn
be taking out.
$2,500
They
into
might be
5,000.
taking out loans to do it, something along those lines. Or that might just be how they make their money. Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe
Uh,
either way, less than a minute. Like, do we have
but
any numbers for how many were actually available? It has to have been at least like tens of thousands, right?
yeah, for sure. Something along those. It's probably not. It's not going to be millions or anything like that. I mean, I'd be shocked if I would think that the PS5 is probably going to sell. I'm going to guess 2 to 5 million units by its launch day. They're certainly not going to sell out millions of pre-orders right now.
They can't. They're out. They're all out. Yeah, there is somebody somewhere out there that's sitting on a fucking bulk shipment of consoles with pre-orders. Like they're gonna
Yeah.
come out and you get the release day delivery or whatever. However, it goes through Walmart and Best Buy and all that, and they're just sitting on a mountain of them, just waiting for eBay.
I listen to me, internet. Do not buy a scalped PlayStation 5. Sony has gone out of their way to say that they will have more PlayStation 5s available upon the night of launch than they did PS4s. And I'll tell you, I did not pre-order a PlayStation 4. I walked into Walmart at midnight and bought one on launch night. It, I'm sure it'll be fine. I just pre-ordered the PS5 because I'm one of Sony's favorites, and they gave me the private pre-order
You're a
slot.
real gamer.
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah, I game.
Bitch.
I got invited to pre-order because I
Is
gave them
there?
so much money already,
Yeah,
and
is
they
there
knew
any
I'd give them
better?
more money.
Is there any better like medal for a gamer, Chad, than they personally invited you to have a private pre-order slot? This- Which I mean, at first people were really pissed about that, and then once the pre-orders actually went live, it became super apparent to me. Oh no, they had a really fucking good reason to do this. N-word. You trying to say something?
Yeah, your mic stuff is being weird. It's okay though.
Anyway, yeah, it's probably a very good thing that they did this because it guarantees that a select audience of people who are going to play this thing on day one and are probably going to spend a lot of time playing it, it makes sure that those people actually get their hands on the console.
Yeah.
Because we all know somebody. King's dad is one of these, like, he's got a PlayStation 4, never plays it, boots up Call of Duty every once in a while or something. But other than that, he never, like, and
It's pretty
unfortunately,
much just a fucking DVR.
yeah, people like that are often people who are buying up a lot of the supply because they work a lot,
Yeah.
they're super busy, but then they just don't do anything with the console. But the other side of this is another thing I noticed about the private pre-order thing was they had a really strict regimen of how this was going to go. They sent me the email and they said, okay, at 10 a.m. tomorrow,
Mm-hmm.
you click on this link and you'll be placed into a private waiting room where you'll then be told when it's your turn to pre-order the console. If you do not use this link and pre-order your console within 2 days of getting this link, it expires and you're not getting your fucking pre-order. Fuck you. And at first I was just like, what kind of shit is this? And now I understand. It's these things are selling out so fast that if people don't use these private pre-orders, they want to get those unclaimed ones into rotation as quickly as possible. So don't get me wrong, they definitely fucked up by not saying pre-orders live now at that last event and then just magically dropping pre-orders at 5 p.m. that same day. But the private reservation thing was a good idea. I think they handled that pretty well.
It's probably, I think, the best anti-scalping measure I think I've ever seen so far. I don't think I've seen anything like that in regards to any other product coming out. It's definitely really a step in the right direction, and it's an absolute improvement, especially over the last three generations. It's definitely good, and I like the idea of it. It's pretty
And
nice.
moreover, it makes sure, like I said, that people you have to register with your PSN account and all that. So it makes sure that people who are actually factually going to use this thing and they have a history with are getting the console. And
Yeah.
it couldn't have been that exclusive. I mean, if it was, I wouldn't have gotten one. There's probably at least, I'd say, probably 10 to 20,000 people were going to get their PS5s this way, I would assume. You know?
Something like that. That seems like a reasonable number. But yeah.
So I wonder how many
Mm-hmm.
people aren't going to use that code within the 2 days.
Probably a lot. I didn't even know like I had the email until I went digging through my promotions folder.
Dude, I
And
was
then you
checking
think about
all of my
that,
spam.
and then that invitation expires a little over 12 hours from now. So you can
Mhm.
be, yeah, there's going to be a lot of people who unfortunately are going to miss that window, or miss it because of the bigger flaw with this is they send it to you and it gives you 2 days notice. And it's, if you're buying the disc version, the one with the disc drive, it's a $500 console. So they're giving you 48 hours to cough up $500. That's
Yeah.
the big flaw with it, is that it doesn't have any sort of incremental pay option.
Oh well,
I
I
was wondering
mean,
about
they
that.
were gonna sell out of those reserve slots anyway. I think that's the mentality behind it, because it's like the people who are gonna buy it are gonna buy it, and they are gonna sell out. They knew they were gonna sell out. They invited more
Mhm.
people than they had stock to sell, even with the reservation.
Also, I'm not sure they've already sold out or not. I didn't see the notifications that they
Yeah.
did, but Walmart did get more pre-order slots as of 9 p.m. last night,
Mm.
so everyone knows.
All right.
Why didn't you tell me yesterday? Oh,
Because I was too busy being angry.
you're killing me.
Yeah, I definitely.
But fair enough.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
the idea is definitely good. I hope when more stuff just comes out, the anti-scalping, there's something like that, that they give uh, loyal customers an opportunity to, get there,
And
to
if it
get
works out
theirs.
well, they can expand it just like for the whole of the core fan base.
Yeah, it's good. In other gaming news, the Super Mario 3D All Stars thing came out, and people are really unhappy. The Mario 64 port they're using is, it takes out a lot of the things that the Mario super fans, the people who are going to be buying it, are really wanted. There's no backwards long jumping, and this was really funny to me.
They essentially told the speedrun community to go fuck yourselves.
Yep,
That version.
That's the biggest thing I've been hearing about as well.
more or less. And also, it's not widescreen. It's not widescreen compatible. Great. It is a bit more crisp. It's definitely more crisp, but it's still 4:3 aspect ratio, which is boo. I'm not a
Mm.
fan of that. But
Also, that's not even by far
hmm,
the biggest problem with it. The biggest problem with it is that this is going to be a limited time thing.
yep.
Even the digital version. This they're creating an artificial scarcity of a game that they have created a digital version of. So you can't say that, hey, we're only printing a certain number of cards.
Mm-hmm.
It's they're trying to influence people like, oh shit, pre-order it while you can.
Yep. No, you cannot buy it after March 31st, 2021. It's off the table. No one can buy it. 6 months, the 6 month period to buy this $60 collection of 3 ports. Nice.
Nintendo pisses me off sometimes, man.
They're out of touch.
Like I love them because like the nostalgia of my childhood and everything, but like
The dissatisfaction I have with their business practices definitely outweighs any nostalgia I have personally. It's like, cool, you've put out some good products, but you're really ruthless and scummy in your business practices, and it really shows that you do not care. And that's fine. A company's not obligated to care. Too many people care about the nostalgic parts of it, but eventually, that's gonna stop working. I think. You know,
I don't know.
uh,
I really don't, because the
really.
Nintendo fan base doesn't hold them to account like at all.
that's the
It,
thing.
I mean, it's they refuse to drop the prices on their first party games. Like Breath of the Wild still costs 64, 19
Hey.
all together with tax. It's, what, 3 years later, a little more. It came out the
Mhm.
same month as Horizon, so yeah, a little more than 3 years later. Still costs that much. All their first party games do, and it's I don't know if that has to do with just like a, I don't know if it has to do with Japanese traditionalism or just really stubborn because this is complex. I mean, there are shareholders, there's a board of directors, not to mention the developers themselves, the marketing team. Uh, it'd probably be impossible depending on one thing. But yeah, they're a very stubborn company. They don't budge. But the biggest problem, it's not, you can't blame Nintendo for the fact that they have these stupid policies. Yeah, there you go. You can't blame Nintendo for the fact that they have these stupid policies and then people still go out and spend policies, practices. If people are still going out and spending all the damn money on it, this is an Animal Crossing. Didn't that sell like 15 million units in a month?
God
Well,
damn.
that was also weird timing because of the pandemic and everything.
Well, that's true, but it outsold Doom Eternal. Doom
Yeah.
Eternal by like it fucking ran circles around it. You know, their fans buy what they put out,
Hmm.
and neither rain nor sleet nor hail will stop them.
You know
Also,
what kills
yeah,
me most about... Sorry, what's up?
I was gonna say also, Animal Crossing is like the perfect game for shut-ins.
This is true.
Like beyond
I mean,
any.
Animal Crossing's good. I'm not saying it shouldn't have sold
Yeah.
that many copies or anything. It's just
It helped me kill. It helped me kill a couple fucking months at the beginning of the shit.
I don't think I put down Doom Eternal until May rolled around
Mm.
personally.
What I was gonna say is, it just really sucks for the people who have played like the original Super Mario 64, like on the Nintendo 64, or like these original games that are being ported over. It's just like it's disappointing to see like the lack of effort that's going into like what's supposed to be like a re-release, or it's like just like you I don't know. It really doesn't seem like they give a shit about their customers, about their fans, and it's kind of disappointing, especially because I know there's a lot of people who were like '80s babies, who, like grew up on like the old Mario's, or like when Mario was first starting to become 3D and shit, and it's just like you could have done a little more. You could have put a little bit more effort into this, even with like little things like the graphics and like completely giving people a new experience, but like you just fuck it.
Hey, to their credit, the Super Mario 64 port is a little less blurry, and some textures are slightly updated. That's nice.
This is just I don't know what they were thinking personally. I mean, I guess it doesn't matter because, like I said, the hardcore Nintendo fans are going to buy it,
Yeah.
and hardcore Nintendo fans number in the hundreds of thousands, if not the millions. Uh, but if they were another company, I don't know what they're thinking because remaster territory is already very slippery. People, the gaming community as a whole doesn't really have a fond outlook of remasters. They kind of tend to see them as shameless cash grabs, depending on what it is. But you not only it's very it's remaster in extreme quotes. Like they didn't rebuild this game; they just took an already existing port. Correct?
Yeah, they did. They used a patched version of it that got released in Japan for the original hardware. It was called the Shindu version, and it was slightly more optimized, and they quashed a lot of the now beloved bugs that existed in the original release, like backwards long jumping and all that stuff.
And I'll mind you that 3DS owners, like a certain one in the chat right now, might be very well aware that they did release a full on, like, real remaster of Super Mario 64 for the 3DS.
No,
Okay.
the original DS, actually Super Mario 64 DS.
Yeah, that's right.
I played so much of that. That
Hmm.
was my
It
Mario
was actually
64.
really nice. Like it was
Yeah.
really
Yes.
nice to re-experience that.
Yes, it was a full remaster. It had features added on. It added Yoshi, Wario, and Luigi as playable characters. It added new levels. They redid the graphics to the best they could on the DS. It is, in my opinion, the definitive version of Super Mario 64. I understand the limitations on the hardware of the DS, of the D-pad. That can be a setback, but hey, the 3DS has an analog stick, an analog nub, and it works. And it's fucking great. That might be my favorite game on the DS line as far as full-on games go. That and the Zelda remaster thing, which I've heard you, Leon, call it a port of the GameCube version before.
That's what I believe. I don't. I couldn't tell you that for a fact, but I personally, I beat the GameCube version of
Mm-hmm.
Ocarina of Time. Can't say that the 3DS version is a wildly different version. Like it just looks like that version with 3D compatibility.
But it's still really good and so much more
Oh
smooth
yeah,
compared
it's
to
one of
the
my favorite
original.
games ever made, so I'll
Yeah,
take it in any form.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Hey, when they're in, we're the problem. If they if they release Ocarina of Time for the Switch for $60, I'm gonna fucking buy it. This is
Yeah,
like, and they know I'm going to.
That's
And
what I'm saying. We were talking about like like I'm a part of the problem too, cause like I'm thinking about getting that shit for the Switch, man. The fucking 3 Mario games,
there's
just
another
because
thing. Super Mario Galaxy 2 is not in that bundle.
nope.
good. I didn't play that shit anyway.
No, Super Mario Galaxy 2 is great, just like the first one.
Yeah.
It was
I
like,
never played the second one.
why are you gonna put Super Mario Galaxy in there and not put
A
Galaxy
lot of
2?
people argue that 2 is better, from what I've seen. It's a pretty heated debate on which Galaxy is better, 1 or 2.
Huh.
But I feel they really definitely should have put 2 in there if they're going to have the original Galaxy. Like,
It's
what
it
was stopping them?
exactly. Well, what's stopping them is just Nintendo being like, well, we can't get them too much for $60, because from Nintendo's point of view, since they do not drop prices on their first party games, technically, they are giving you, what is it, four $60 games. So they're
What?
they're
The
not
collection's
they're
only
not
3. Sorry.
they're only three. Okay,
Yeah, it's
so
Mario 64, Sunshine, and Galaxy.
they're not moving forward. I hesitate to use the term progressive, but that's the best thing I can think of to describe the way Sony and Microsoft are moving. See,
Pro
Sony and
consumer.
Microsoft, yeah, Sony and Microsoft. I mean, allegedly it cost $450 to develop a PlayStation 5, and they're selling the one with the disc drive for 500, the one without the disc drive for 400. So, which is the one I'm getting, by the way, and I'm going to assume most people will be getting that version as time goes on. I think the regular version will outsell it at first, but that's not my point. So they're breaking even with the one without the disc drive and only making a $50 profit. Probably not even that after marketing and the distribution on the one with the disc drive. But Sony understands that they will make those sales back with PlayStation Plus subscriptions and first party games if people buy the console. And that's not even to mention that Microsoft is straight up releasing a $300 version of the new Xbox. Now, that's a
Which kind
bit
of blows my fucking mind.
that's a bit misleading because it's really not an Xbox Series X. It isn't. It's not the same console. But it is a next gen console from the current gen for $300, which is fucking wild. Like I
So is
prop
that $300 version coming with the red ring, or is that just an add-on?
I'm assuming it's going to come breakdown free.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
Hmm.
To be fair, we have to be fair to them.
Fingers crossed. Though.
The
They didn't really
nostalgia.
have any.
The
They didn't
nostalgia.
really have any.
Sorry.
No, please say your quip.
Man, it's ruined now. I was gonna say the nostalgia crash is an optional transaction.
Yeah, there you go.
Sorry for interrupting.
No, you're good. We're gonna interrupt each other. It's just gonna happen. Um,
Yeah.
but they're still doing it. Like it's. I think the baseline. Uh, what is the resolution between 1080p and 4K? Is it 1492?
1440, and there's
1440.
also 2440 or something
So
like
yeah,
that.
so the baseline resolution of the Xbox Series S is going to be 1440, and apparently, now obviously we just don't know how true this is going to be because different games are going to come out, but the baseline frame rate is going to be 60. So this is getting like a competent, PC essentially, not like a top of the line one, but a competent one for $300.
That blows competent PCs out of the water. Because a good graphics card will cost like a
Well,
competent like middle of the road graphics card will
well,
run you 150 to 250 for the card alone.
well, it really just depends on how it's going to play once the games are in there, because odds are there's probably going to be some kind of, you know, mode where it upscales a game to 4K, but then it drops the frame rate to 30. Now, I think this is something that's going to be a little more likely than people want to think. I don't think that these consoles are going to run every game that is 4K at 4K and 60. I just think it's going to happen.
Especially not at first.
Yeah.
There's
Uh,
no way.
yeah, I mean, the things can get better. I mean, the games can get developed better, and they can figure out how to use the technology better. But it's it's like when I was watching the Ratchet and Clank gameplay that they were showing. There's an option in that game for performance mode, meaning that the mode where you are playing with a 60 frames per second frame rate is separate from the highest visual setting, unless the performance mode is 120 frames per second. That's possible. We don't have the details because there are
You
games
know,
confirmed to be running at 120 FPS on the PlayStation 5.
I was gonna ask you guys because you guys know more about like the specs behind like gaming consoles and PCs. Like, what is like the most we could fucking see right now when it comes to like resolution versus performance? Like, what is possible? Because like I didn't even know
There's so many
120 frames per
aspects that
second was
go
a
into
thing
that.
until you just said it.
At this very moment, the most that's possible with resolution and performance wise is 4K resolution at 30 to 25 frames per second, as far as console hardware
So,
goes.
yeah, I was about to say, as far as consoles go, now even games that aren't visually demanding, like Doom Eternal, is not particularly demanding on like the GPU.
Somehow.
Yeah, uh, because the PlayStation 4 Pro runs it at 60 FPS with checkerboard 4K. That is not 4K. It's relatively close, but it isn't 4K. Um, with some extreme tinkering, I have seen, like Doom Eternal at 8K at 1,000 frames per second, but the computer has like 4 graphics cards in it, and it's liquid cooled.
Yeah.
You know what
What the
hmm
fuck does 1,000 frames per second even look like though?
we
I
don't
mean?
really.
It looked like Doom Eternal to
Yeah.
me. Like, it's impressive that the computer can do that, but at a certain point, your eyes, it just looks the same.
I don't
It
think.
makes a bigger difference when it comes to like actually shooting things. But
I don't think we have monitors that are capable of that many hertz. Right now, top monitors are like what, 240 hertz? And those are like top tier monitors. So running something at 1,000 frames per second, I mean, it's cool to look at on the performance specs and all that. It's definitely cool. And by the way, the IdTech engine, oh my god, I swear that engine is magic. I don't know how they do it. It is
360.
360?
Mm-hmm.
Ah, I was a little off.
So is
My
it one of
bad.
those things kind of like we can technically do it, but we can't really like perceive it too well at the moment?
Yeah, more or less.
Yeah, I mean, the eye only sees at 23 frames per second. That's why movies are 23.
The frames per second is the best way to summarize it is just how smooth the gameplay looks and how
Yeah.
smooth it is. And it makes the biggest difference in competitive shooters. So if you were playing, let's say you were playing Red Dead Redemption 2 at 60 frames per second, right? And then you upped it to 120 frames per second. Now, Red Dead Redemption 2 is a more sluggish, uh, kind of persistence based game when it comes to you shooting something else. In Rainbow Six Siege, you will feel the difference between 60 FPS and 120 FPS because it will always be more beneficial for a first person shooter for everything to be smoother when it comes to lateral movement.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
I suppose. And I want to chip in really quickly. The eye doesn't see in frames per second. We're meat computers. We're not silicon computers. We're not things look blurry when they move really fast to us for a reason.
Yeah.
Like anybody saying the I can only see at a certain FPS, I mean, maybe we can know that, as something as a comparable analog, but right now I don't think we really have the data for something like that. But yeah, anyway, FPS improvements. I think that's a lot more important for the upcoming generation, personally,
Absolutely.
than resolution because we have been stuck at 30 FPS since the PS2 days. For 20 years, 30 FPS has been it, and it's fine, for most people. It's perfectly playable. It's good, it's fine. But I feel that's definitely the boundary that should be getting pushed because that has been the standard for some 20 odd years
Well, it's also just
in
completely
3D games.
unacceptable, even at the current generation. The PlayStation 4 Pro, it was just utter insanity for Rockstar to have prioritized Red Dead Redemption 2's resolution over its frame rate. What is the fucking point? What? This Rockstar knew that pushing Red Dead Redemption 2 on the PS4 Pro to as close to 4K as they could was going to compromise its performance. Of course they fucking knew that. They develop games. I would I don't know anyone who wouldn't rather have a smoother experience playing the game than, better resolution on their fucking tree textures. You know?
Yeah. I think definitely it is a harder sell. I mean, I know why they do it, or at least I think I do, looking at it from a market perspective.
4K is a tagline.
Yeah, it's the new, this is the 3600 GPU, this is the 85,000 GPU, this is the, it's the same thing now as to what teraflops were in 2013.
And still are,
It's
by
just
the
a
way.
different,
They're still running with that.
yeah, it's just a different buzzword, something to get people excited. And it doesn't necessarily mean a whole lot. I think it means a bit less than the whole teraflops thing does, personally.
Yeah.
But
It's inane, especially if your game is a shooter. Give it the best performance you can. Okay? Red Dead Redemption 2 at the end of the
Please.
day is a shooter. you know? It's-
I don't know. Oh, yeah, I don't want to gush too much about Red Dead Redemption 2, because I think I've said this every stream now, but I love that game.
well, it's the benchmark game of our time right now. So
At the moment, yeah, there's some stuff coming up though that might like Cyberpunk and all that, but for now, it
that
is the
game
benchmark. I think.
I
Yeah.
feel like everyone's just too hyped for Cyberpunk. Look,
I feel like at this point it's going to be disappointing based off of the hype.
I like CD Projekt Red. They're a good studio. They treat their fans well and they take their game seriously. They are not. I'm going into such dangerous territory here. The Witcher 3 with CD Projekt's Red. It was their first home run smash hit. The Witcher 1 and 2 are not phenomenal games. I have played them. The Witcher 3 is their first. Well, this studio really knows what the fuck they're doing now. Cyberpunk is a very ambitious game. This is a studio that's prone to performance issues and lots of bugs in their game. Hello, End All Films. So, the propensity for Cyberpunk to be a broken down mess is there. And I'm not saying it's going to be. I'm just saying it's there. This is a possibility. And everyone should just take their expectations down a bit, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. They've also, pretty recently, I think within the past month or so, they've confirmed, basically feature creep. There's a bunch of promised features that they're just not going to be able to put into the game. Now, apparently,
Mhm.
they're limiting the city size and a whole bunch of other stuff.
Yeah.
It's actually really, like,
Well,
yeah.
I'll give him a defense on that. This is a cross-gen game. This is going to be a game that is on the original Xbox One. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
The Metal Gear Solid 5 is a game that suffered because of this. Like its cross-gen roots were very visible. Like I love that game, but very clear that it was a game that was intended to also be able to be played on a an Xbox 360 in 2015. You know what I mean?
Yeah, more or less. I just want to bring this up real quick because personally, I'm not gonna pretend I'm some sort of high genius or anything, but I feel like I saw the feature creep coming like from the announcement. It was like this is too much, like
Yeah,
you said, cross
Right?
generation. The earlier generation is not going to be able to pull this off. The new one,
exactly.
sure, I can believe that for sure. But if it's going to be running on the older consoles, there's just no way. You know, there's no way they can promise all of this. And I think that really started to hit them in the past year or so of development for the game.
Yeah, I mean, just for some perspective on this, for some of its games, Microsoft had to create a graphics pipeline for some of their games to reach true 1080p at launch.
Ooh. Excuse me.
I mean, it's going to be on this console. You are going to be able to play this game on a launch edition Xbox One, assuming you have one.
Mm-hmm.
There's only so much you can expect, and they're probably almost certainly going to do the same thing Rockstar did with Grand Theft Auto 5, where 3 years down the road, it's we just can't limit what we're doing for the current gen for the last gen anymore. There's going to be a lot. I'm not saying the game's going to be bad. It's most likely going to be good, but from the perspective of what you are getting as a last gen, there's going to be a lot of disappointment involved in this game. For sure, there's going to be promises that aren't going to be filled, and for sure, if you're playing on a PlayStation 4 or an Xbox One, you're going to get left behind.
Yeah. Uh, I do want to bring this up because it is a pretty substantial list of features, and since we're on the topic, I have a little article here, courtesy of Game Rant, and it's just going over features that are being removed. And, I'm not mad at them for it, personally. I feel maybe we do have the potential for this to be like a No Man's Sky situation where they will, roll out more stuff as it comes on. I don't know, I'm not sure. But let's just look at a couple other things.
I think there's a little
Yeah.
too much money behind CD Projekt at this point to have a No Man's Sky situation,
Hmm.
but
All right.
Hopefully.
To answer that question, yeah, do got a Discord. Wonder why. But anyway, features. So wall running is not in the game anymore. That's scrapped. Vehicle customization is scrapped or reduced. Uh, Whatever the flathead bot is, a military droid that would show up during an in-game mission. They just couldn't pull it off. The subway. Wait, the subway is getting removed. Shit, didn't know that. Which I guess was its. Huh.
fast travel
Its
system.
fast travel system. Yeah, I don't know why I blinked on that.
By the
It's
way, End All Films, Cyberpunk 2077 is coming out like in a few months. It's not, I believe, in a few months.
yeah. I don't think they can delay it anymore. It's definitely not
I
canceled.
think it's delayed 4 times now.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of features have been removed. Third person cutscenes are no longer in the game. I guess because the character models are just too much in rendering that in the cutscenes and whatever. They. All the cutscenes are in first person now. And those are just some of the bigger ones. There's a whole bunch of other stuff as well, but that's just a highlight of the couple things for an example of feature creep. They just can't shove it in. And I think that's because they marketed it from the beginning to be a multi cross generation game, right? I think
Mhm.
that's really come to bite them in the ass. They feel like they can't go back on
Mhm.
that. And
And to add a little bit of a supplement to what you're saying here,
yeah,
so I just pulled up its release date. It is coming out in November, allegedly. That is the planned release date for the current generation of consoles. It is not slated to release on next gen until next year. So there's already the telltale signs of those versions of the game are going to have a lot more to them.
yeah. Actually, I didn't know that. I thought it was just gonna be a launch game.
Nope.
Shit, that makes me feel optimistic because
For
there is
Christian,
potential.
for sure.
Yeah, it is potential, and I like this. I like this, the idea. They haven't said anything about it, but just going off of speculation, I like the idea of this. They're gonna wait on it to release it, like what, a few months into the new year, was it? Something like that, you said?
Happy Saturday.
Happy
Yeah.
Saturday.
It didn't even say a few months. It just says 2021.
Okay, so that still leaves potential that they can have all the features they marketed in the new generation version, and the old gen version they just couldn't cram it in, so they're just like, we're sorry, we can't release it like this. That gives me hope. That makes me optimistic.
Yeah.
Still looking forward to it. I think I couldn't I don't think I could consider myself scorned over any of the news of, oh, we're sorry, this isn't really going to be possible, this is going to be scrapped. I'm still confident that it can and will still be a good game. At the very least, it'll still be good. You know,
I mean, it's
solid.
hard to imagine them making a colossal fuck up after The Witcher 3.
Yeah.
I'm just saying their roots are not in fantastic games.
And the best thing we can say is we'll see. I like the idea of it, you know, everything about it and everything that's drawn everybody else to it. I also enjoy the whole, you know, Blade Runner game. Wow, you know,
Mm.
that's fucking badass. That's great. There's not much like that, and I'm still looking forward to it. And
Looking forward to seeing Keanu,
of course,
baby Keanu,
wholesome Chungus Keanu, yeah.
our Lord and Savior.
Oh yeah. Now,
Okay.
I dead air.
Let's talk about that Demon Souls remake.
All right, yeah.
So,
What the fuck?
You know the most
They-
about Demon Souls, so you go.
they showed a gameplay trailer, like full on. This is
Mhm.
real gameplay for the Demon Souls remake at that most recent PlayStation 5 streamed event. Uh, it blew my expectations away. Like this is, I mean, there's new mechanics, there's new animations for killing it. Like when you kill a regular enemy, there'll be little like cinematic animations for some of them now. It showed him ream his sword all the way through an enemy, pick up the enemy off the ground, slam them back onto the ground. It's all in gameplay. It showed him like hopping over fences and stuff, just vaulting right over like the common shooter mechanic. This is uh this is a legit like reimagining of this game. And it's the closest thing we're gonna get to Dark Souls 4, which
Mhm.
means a lot to me personally. And it makes me want to bring up the idea that Sony needs to purchase that studio, Bluepoint.
Absolutely.
Like
Oh
this,
yeah.
this studio needs to be under Sony's belt. These are people who are so very obviously far and away more talented than just remasters.
Yeah. They handled the
Uh,
Spyro stuff, didn't they?
no, that was
Uh,
on Toys for Bob, I believe.
oh yeah. Which, by the way, Skylanders was fun. But which one did they handle? Was it the Crash Insane trilogy?
Shadow of the Colossus remake.
Nice.
So they've already remade a Sony first-party game.
Mhm.
By the way, a remake that I feel like very few studios would have had the balls to touch. If I had, if if I was, let's say I was Neil Druckmann, if I was in his shoes, vice president of Sony's most prestigious company, and they would have asked me to make a Shadow of the Colossus remake, I would have been like, nope, I'll be crucified. You know. And Bluepoint was just like, yeah, we'll do it. And on top of that, uh, they added stuff to it. They added that whole secret sword that you can find through the coins. That fucking forever year mystery that nobody would give up on. They finished it. They gave it an end. The Bluepoint made Shadow of the Colossus a better game. Who the fuck ever would have thought that someone would be saying that? It's wild. This team, Sony, needs to buy them because they have a vast cornucopia of PlayStation 1 first party games that could be remade as modern games, and that team could help. Like it's uh, I could go on about this forever, but I'll just summarize it with they need to purchase Bluepoint Studios and start getting some of these IPs back out there because Sony is currently writing the PlayStation wave. People are going to buy PlayStations more, I believe, anyway, at the start of this console cycle for first party games. Uh,
Mhm.
because the Xbox Series X is going to be the more powerful console, not by a wide margin at all, but they'll advertise it as such regardless.
Mm-hmm.
So Sony needs to get on that train, in my opinion. I think that if they can say, hey, by the way, here's a remake of or a reboot of Siphon Filter, helmed by Blue Point Studios.
Dude,
You know what I mean?
if I could see the Omega Strain remastered, that was one of my favorite PS2 games. Oh, man. I think Blue Point is like the gold standard for remasters from everything I've seen. They've been doing them since 2011 with Ico and Shadow of the Colossus, or Ico, whatever. They did Metal Gear Solid HD Collection. They did Flower as their own game. It's pretty nice, like atmospheric thing for the launch of the PS4. They did Titanfall. They ported it.
Shit.
They also did the Uncharted Nathan Drake collection, the full-on remasters there. They remastered Gravity Rush. They did the 2018 remaster of Shadow of the Colossus
The
and
God of War
Demon
collection.
Souls and the God of War collection back in 2009. They are the gold standard for just game remasters. They rebuild it. They retool everything to fit the new generation. And I think that's how proper, of course, remasters should be. You know, not what Nintendo's been doing, for sure, in the past few years, not some of the other remasters I've seen. Blue Point tools everything ground up from what I've seen in terms of their remasters, and they make the game better. They make their versions of it the definitive versions, like you said, with Shadow of the Colossus, and how it looks with
Yeah,
Demon Souls.
that's important what you just said. That Demon Souls remake is definitively Blue Point's game. I played that game in and out. It's familiar, but that is not the same game. It's not. That is going to be definitively, in my opinion, that is going to be Blue Point's definitive game when it comes out.
Yep.
That's good. That game is going to be the standard we hold that studio to, and I think that if that is as successful a launch game as I'm thinking it's going to be, now that it is exclusive to the PlayStation 5, that will hurt its sales numbers a little bit because the Dark Souls community, as vast as it is a genuine cross-platform community. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I think it will sell well. I don't know how well, but if it is as successful as I'm believing and hoping it's going to be, I think it should absolutely spur Sony to just purchase that studio, because Microsoft has not been shy at all, especially in the last year, about buying studios. The moment that everyone saw the clear potential in the Outer Worlds, Microsoft immediately bought Obsidian,
Mm-hmm.
and that was a huge mistake for Sony to, because those talks were rumored. It was a huge mistake for Sony to hear of those talks and not try to, carrot and stick per se, Obsidian over to their side, because they're like the only Western RPG developer, really. Not the only one, but making games, of that size and that scale with that much
Yeah.
detail behind them. Yeah, they're pretty much the only one. So now, unless unless Sony were to try and acquire the studio that makes Wasteland, which isn't going to happen. So
Yeah. There's only one more studio I can think of that is in the business of making that particular kind of in-depth, nitty-gritty RPG, and they are brand new. Warhorse. Warhorse. Oh my God! Hats off
well,
to them.
they're not Western per se.
They're Polish, I believe.
That's not Western.
Close enough, European, Western enough. They're definitely, Western in the style and in their presentation, and then the way they have handled their RPG. Kingdom Come is.
It is definitely an underrated game. I don't quite have the patience for that game myself. It is good though.
It is phenomenal. It is. I want to play it more. It takes a lot. It is, I'd argue to say even almost in some ways revolutionary. It is the Morrowind of, when did it come out? 2017?
Something like
The
that.
only RPG that rivals in complexity of its kind is Morrowind. And that's it. That's the only one I can really think of. And I guess The Outer Worlds. It's a much shorter experience than Kingdom
I wouldn't
Come.
really say the Outer
But,
Worlds is complex. It's definitely of Obsidian style. You know,
yeah.
it's a zany and it's a
Yeah.
shooter, but it's not really its biggest draw. The Outer Worlds, its
Oh
biggest
my
draw
god.
is most certainly its RPG dialogue mechanics, things of that nature.
Hang on one second. I'm very mad at myself. I somehow have jalapeno jelly on my keyboard, and I just noticed that.
But
I,
there is a studio that is already under Sony's belt that has dipped their toe into
yeah.
the RPG realm, and they have a sequel to that game coming out on the PlayStation 5, and that is Guerrilla Studios. Horizon Zero Dawn.
Mm-hmm.
Killzone.
Yeah.
If in a perfect world, Guerrilla Studios could become Sony's first party RPG studio.
Mm-hmm. Isn't, though, Forbidden West? I swear I thought I saw something and I was really confused by it about the new Horizon coming to PC or something.
No, that's not going to happen. They
Oh.
released the old one on PC.
Okay, whatever. It's fine.
I mean, it might happen in 9 years.
Yeah.
But
Not anytime soon.
they're releasing the old one on PC for the sole purpose of trying to spur core PC players to get a PlayStation 5. And I'm going to say right now, I'm gonna either Bloodborne or God of War is coming out on PC soon. They're gonna dip their toe into those waters a little bit more.
I would
Yeah.
bet Bloodborne probably.
That would be the more sensical one. But if you're trying to draw, see, I think Sony believes it needs to be their true and tried first party games. It would be more sensible to release Bloodborne on PC because that's the one that actually had a fucking petition to release it on PC for it. But they're probably going to lean more towards God of War because they're going to want to release something that is a definitive PlayStation first party experience. Bloodborne, in my opinion, is PlayStation 4's best game, easily, but it is not a true Sony first party because that was developed by From Software. So that is a second party exclusive.
Mm-hmm. You know what? That is a really hot topic right now. And that is timed exclusivity. You love it? You hate it?
It's just, I don't get the point. I really don't. Like, do you think anyone, maybe, but how many PlayStation 4s do you think were bought for the sole reason that Final Fantasy VII Remake is exclusive to the PS4 for a year? I'm going to say not many.
Well, I don't think that's the idea behind it. I think the idea behind it is, for one, more money, of course. And they
Oh,
get
yeah.
to market the game again when it's coming out for the new platforms later. And personally, I have no problem with exclusives just being timed.
Well, sure.
Because, especially when it's just an excellent game, I want as many people to experience it, to enjoy it, as possible. You know, there are still tons of people who are solely in the Xbox category or solely on PC, and they probably will not get to experience the games otherwise unless they get re-released. In, you know, in that manner, I'm okay. I'm just fine. I'd say I even approve of timed exclusivity.
So your point about more money, there's no way Sony threw them as much money as they would have made from a huge launch across all platforms. That just didn't happen. As for your other point, that is a good one. Being able to market the game is a new thing all over again. But
Yeah.
you do run the risk of launching a game that is already a year old at full price on PC and Xbox, which I could see being a source of controversy.
Definitely. But I'd say the remedy is sell it at, a slightly reduced price. I mean, you have it exclusive on the first console, on the first release for a reason, right? And it's going to be full price, and you get that, and you sort of, I guess if you want to look at it from a marketing perspective, you pay for the premium of being able to play the game first for 6 months, a year, however long before it gets on other platforms, and you're paying for that premium. Now, when it releases on other platforms, reduced price. You had to wait, so you'll get to pay a little bit less when it comes out, and then presumably even less, a year down the line from the initial release on the other platform. I think that is a solid business model, personally.
I don't think that takes away. I think it's still a $60 value game, no matter what platform it's on. I don't really know what goes into, platform exclusive games, but like, I mean, either you got it or you don't. Like, I mean, I think Bloodborne should still be $60 if it comes to a new fucking console, because it's a wonderful fucking game. Same with like God of War or anything else that gets ported over to a new console.
Yeah, but
Well,
sorry.
so price drops have more to do in reality with video games' roots on hard copies. It's actually pretty rare that you see a dramatic price drop in a game on the digital marketplace, unless
Mhm.
you're looking at Steam, of course.
Yeah.
Um, as time goes on, we're definitely going to see less and less of video game price drops because, yeah, the value of a disc drops over time. It's a game that's
Yeah.
been. I mean, how long has this been sitting on the shelf? How many owners has this copy had? Game price drops are rooted in their hardware.
Their physicality, it's a physical product. You
Yeah,
don't.
if you go,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah. It's just because it is a physical product, you don't sell a 30, well, you don't sell like a 5, 6 year old, let's say, oh, what's a good comparison? A 5, 6 year old hairbrush that's been sitting on the shelf for that long or has been through multiple owners for the original like $10. That's just the nature of physical goods.
Yeah,
They
exactly.
degrade over time.
So, in to back King's point here, that's actually an interesting idea that just popped into my head. Do you think that as video games move more and more to the inevitable all digital future, because it is inevitable, the
Oh
fact
yeah.
that there is a disk driveless version of the PlayStation 5, I think that sings the death knell of physical copies.
Maybe
Uh,
so.
I mean, that's not to say the demand for physical media is dead. That's just saying that people being willing to deal with the middleman to get their hands on physical copies, the willingness to do that is just going right out the door.
Mm-hmm. And also,
I feel like that's gonna become more of like a nostalgia
yeah.
thing.
So I'm wondering if, as time goes on, do you think that the value of a game is going to be based more on its critical reception and how well it sells in the all digital future,
Hmm.
as opposed to it just being a $70 game actually. PlayStation 5 games are $70. I have seen the pre-order site. Demon Souls Remastered is a $70 game. That's happening, by the way,
Mm-hmm.
and it needs to be fair. So
Yeah. Also, in regards
I
to
don't.
physical releases, I'm really sorry. Just one
There you go.
second. Look at this. This is the physical release of Microsoft Flight Sim 2020. That is a lot of discs. That is, what, 2 books of 8 discs, I think?
yeah,
Games are becoming too big for disc technology to contain them. And eventually, the people who manufacture the discs are just going to be like,
well, are those on regular DVD ROMs or are those on dual layer Blu-ray discs like modern day games tend to be?
I can pretty sure guarantee they are on Blu-ray. I am pretty certain of that. Not many not many PC games that come out now use DVD ROMs anymore. Or am I just wrong about that? I could be wrong.
I just wouldn't
Yeah.
think that as few physical copies. I mean, if you were to make a guess right now as to what percent of PC games are installed through discs anymore, what would you think it
Mhm.
is? I'm gonna say less than 2%.
who buy games physically. I don't know. I don't think it's that radical.
Is there a PC gaming section in GameStop?
No, for PC, absolutely, right? Not many people buy games physically on PC, you know.
Yeah, that's a PC game. That's my point.
Yeah. But that's funny actually. The only PC games I ever see in stores, I
World of Warcraft.
World of Warcraft and like old PopCap games and Bejeweled. Those are the only PC games I ever see with discs.
Mhm.
I have seen GTA 5 though, but as far as new modern games, they don't really get wide physical releases on PC. It's definitely a telltale sign of the future, I think. But I also think on consoles, there's always going to be a significant enough amount of holdouts of people who do not want digital games, who want the physical collections that they can have on their shelves. I think there's
Right.
enough to where they are going to still exist.
But
know.
this isn't up to them. It isn't.
Yeah.
You can say demand all you want, but the reality is Sony makes more money, Microsoft makes more money when games are bought on their digital storefronts. If
Mhm.
Sony had their way, the middleman and selling discs would already have been cut out. This is going to be the future because they're going to push it that way. And there's probably no amount of slamming your hands into keyboards on Reddit threads that can stop that from happening. And the simple reason for this is, as I already said, they make more money when you buy the games on their digital storefronts.
Yeah. It just makes me kind of sad because I'm a fan of physical too. Like I
Well,
understand.
I hate discs myself, so fuck them.
I like them, all right. I like the fact that we have the shelf just full of PS3 games that you can flip through, and they have the art and they have the disc, and I like the whole, physical aspect to it. I do. I understand that they degrade. If it's gone, it's gone. I don't have a license. I can't just re-download it, or anything like that. But I just really like it. It makes me sad to know that that probably is going to be the future, that they're not going to really exist anymore.
I'll give discs credit in one regard, right?
Hmm.
As long as you have a working PlayStation 3 and that disc, you'll be able to play that game.
Forever.
And that is something that I don't think people ever really think about or understand. One day,
Mhm.
you will never be able to play the digital games on your PlayStation 4 ever again.
Yep. You know what?
One day, those servers are going to be gone.
We have a great example of this. I'm gonna grab it. I'll be back in a minute. Like 30 seconds.
Okay. Anyway, so King.
Yep.
Forgive me if you haven't been able to do enough research into this to talk about it thoroughly. But what do you think about the Xbox Series S and N-word? I'd like to know what you think about this as well, because this isn't a
I don't know
scaled
what to think
down.
about it, honestly.
This isn't a scaled down version of the Xbox Series X. This is just a straight up. It's a different console entirely. This is
The only thing I've heard is that it's
Microsoft deciding to release two consoles, a strong one and a weak one, at the exact same time.
that's straight up. That's the only thing I've heard is that it's essentially like the Xbox Series
by the way,
X minus several key features.
play this any other way anymore.
Yeah,
This is
true.
super limited. It only exists physically. It's not on any digital storefront.
Yeah.
You can't play this anymore.
The Silent Hill HD collection can only be played through this fucking disc. So this is this game is not available digitally at all. Why, I don't know. It was for a certain point in time, but it isn't anymore. I had to order this and wait a fucking month for it to get delivered because I wanted to play Silent Hill 2. But anyway, yes, you were saying, King?
The only thing I've heard is that the Xbox Series S is literally just the X minus several key features that make the X the X. That's all I know.
I
about
mean,
it.
that's the thing though. It's not. It's spec-wise, it is not the same console.
Really? I don't know anything about it, honestly. I just look at the names, I see the names, I'm like, dude, Scarlet would have been so much better.
So I mean, this is like so the $400 version of the PlayStation 5, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is the PlayStation 5, but without a disc drive. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
The Xbox Series S is not the Xbox Series X minus some key feature. It is just an over. I'm not saying it's a weak console. It's just an overall weaker console than the Xbox Series X. They have just decided to make the decision. Decided to make the decision. They have just decided to release a weaker console alongside their new flagship console.
Mm-hmm. Want to bring up an article for it. I don't know anything about it personally. I just know as much as you've said right here. So I want to just specify this a little bit. So I found this little article of what's the difference. So the design is what stands out the most. The Xbox Series S kind of looks like a subwoofer or something almost.
I'm
Ah,
also going to point out that
yeah.
at the last Microsoft conference, Phil Spencer had an Xbox Series S sitting on his bookshelf and nobody noticed.
Huh.
Yeah.
But yeah, processing and graphics. This is what you were getting into, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they released a full spec list of both. The Series X and the Series S will both be powered by the same processor, a Zen 2 8-core processor, but the Series X CPU will run at 3.8 gigahertz per core with multi-threading, and the S is lower. And another one, and this is actually a pretty big difference looking at it.
So I'm going to say
The
right now, before
yeah.
you continue, the Series S will have less graphical processing power than the PS4 Pro, I believe, if that is the case. Hang on a second.
Can y'all shout out my friend Spanky? Oh, hey, Glizzy King, welcome back. Yeah, what's up,
Yeah.
Spanky? Shout out to Spanky.
So the PS4
Yeah.
Pro is a 5.8 teraflops of graphical performance.
Mm-hmm.
So
The Series S is 4.
wait. So I mean, there's got to be something. There's got to be another factor here. Like they've got to be taking into account the
Yeah.
SSD and because there's just no fucking way. I'm just a tad bit confused here looking at this because the Xbox One X is stronger than the PS4 Pro, so they're
Mm-hmm.
releasing a next gen console that's weaker than their current premium console.
Who knows? But yeah, that is a giant downgrade. 12 teraflops, which is 52 CUs at 1.825 gigahertz, and the
Wait,
Series S is 20 CUs at 1.565.
so
That difference is so stark. How are they going to make it work?
so the Xbox Series X
Yeah.
is 12 teraflops.
Yes, and the
So
S is
that's
4.
the same. So that's the same as the PS4, the PS5. So
But the S is 4. That is 1/3 of this metric. It's crazy.
sorry, that's just like confusing all around because
Yeah.
last time I heard the PS5 was gonna have 12 teraflops and the Xbox Series X was supposed to be 15. So
Mm-hmm.
now it's like, so wait, these consoles are more or less the same then, which is generally what it's always really been.
Yeah.
But this is a little bit weird. I definitely, for sure. I mean, the processor and the SSD are going to make
Mhm.
up some of the slack there.
The bigger issue looking at this is the difference in drive storage. So the X, of course, is 1 terabyte internal SSD. That is the standard. And it has USB 3 and up. You can have external hard drives. The S is 512 gigabyte SSD.
Mm.
That is that is fucking terrible. Warzone, for example, Call of Duty Warzone is over 100 gigabytes. 512 gig SSD. I understand the difference. The difference in price, but is that really justifiable? That's
Ray
like 2
tracing
games
isn't
or less.
supported by both.
Yeah.
See, that's bizarre. I mean, there's ray
Mhm.
tracing on the PS4 Pro with certain games like Control, for instance. The PS4 Pro does not do it great. You know.
Yeah. Our good old recurring visitor wants us to say something, so let's go.
hang on.
Spanky eats poop. Spanky is a poopy, pee-pee, baby, stupid head. He eats shit. He was that guy in that one video that was just sitting in the septic tank in the latex suit and just went full dive.
Oh,
Is that good?
why have I been reminded of that?
But yeah, there you go. Oh, fuck. But yeah, it's definitely a confusing thing for me, the S and the X. I get less powerful, right? But the whole point with consoles is that they have a solid benchmark for hardware of the time, right? They have a solid benchmark that any developer can use for that time.
Or at least for a snapshot in time.
Yeah, exactly. And they can use it as a base, and that's how optimization and all that gets done. If you're releasing a bunch of things with pretty radically different specs, how is this going to work? Like, games on the Xbox Series X are going to suffer as a consequence of the S being lower spec like that. That's the only way I can see that.
This is something that I was thinking about
Mm-hmm.
reading it earlier, but that to me is like that's hardly even like the point here. How are you this is surely just got to be a stepping stone to reach an olive branch out to it's just got to be a way to get more people into the gaming market.
I guess
Because
so.
I just looked at the price of the Xbox One X, which is like their answer to the PlayStation 4 Pro. It is $400. So their slim down version, the Xbox Series S, is going to be 300. It's going to be weaker than the Xbox One X, at least in terms of GPU. So this maybe it's a better idea than we're giving it credit for, because this is more or less going to be a competent console for $300.
Yeah.
So it's got. I looking at it this way, I think it's a good idea. I think it's just them saying, "Hey, video games are going to become more expensive as time goes on, and so are consoles. So to make sure that, a certain demographic of people don't get left behind, namely, young kids always tend to not get the newer consoles until Christmas, or if they're really unlucky, their birthday rolls around.
Mm-hmm.
So if it can pick up some of the slack on that end, because as these kind of things go on, it's going to be very important for them to have more people in their ocean of, let's say, Xbox Game Pass subscribers than it is for them to be making a huge profit off the consoles. Because as we've already seen, PlayStation is going to take a hit, or at the very best break even, with the disc driveless version of the PlayStation 5, because they understand this. I think it's a good idea, and Microsoft, in my opinion, is a very consumer-friendly company, and I think it was wise of them to go with this direction.
I think they learned a lot after the launch of the last generation.
Yeah,
In
well,
terms of consumer friendliness.
blame that on one fucking dude. I can't even remember that guy. Whoever the head of Xbox was at the time the Xbox One got announced, that guy fucked them. It wasn't Phil Spencer.
I'm curious now.
It was something fish, I want to say. I don't know. Maybe not.
Phil Fish.
No.
No.
Price?
Geez, I really don't know. Trying to find it. Let's see. Yeah, this is driving me crazy. It wasn't Phil Spencer. Oh my god, Phil Spencer's a lot older than he looks.
Oh, it was Don Matrick.
Don Matrick, yeah. Holy
Yeah,
shit. Yeah.
That guy really ran the Xbox One's campaign right into the ground when they first.
It was good they got rid of him. Yeah, that was a shit show. I'm glad they learned, though. I'm glad they show they can learn. Unlike a certain Japanese company that, Nintendo. Nintendo really hasn't been learning. I'm glad the Xbox people have. And Jesus Christ, Phil Spencer. He was born in 1968. Look at this fucking stud. He does not look that old.
Guy loves video games.
He looks like maybe 35 to 40. Holy shit, Phil Spencer.
Is
Yeah.
He's one of the best people in this field right now because Phil Spencer has taken Microsoft or Xbox in this direction of like we just want to get people to play video games and we want to get video games to people regardless of the platform, which is why there's no such thing as an Xbox exclusive game anymore. They will all be coming to PC, which is great for me because I did not want to have to buy an Xbox Series X to play Halo Infinite. So,
Yeah.
uh, he's a like you said stud. Phil Spencer is great for the world of video games, and God bless him. And because the competition's good, it's good for PlayStation. If Xbox was slacking, then PlayStation would start slacking. And since I play games on PlayStation, it's good for Xbox to stay as best they can.
Yeah. Phil Spencer in general, good guy. He's been running the company really well, I think, from everything I've seen. Right?
Hmm
Uh,
They've definitely made some interesting choices. Uh,
mm-hmm.
to to be frank, interesting is the kindest way I could put them. Like I don't know how wise it is to batten down the hatches and go into another console war with console war funding behind it if
Mm-hmm.
you don't really have an exclusive market to launch your new console from. But
Hmm.
he knows what he's doing, more so than I would. So that's just my only thing is at this point I just do not know what the Xbox Series X has going for it as far as guaranteeing a successful launch because Halo
Yeah.
Infinite has now been delayed until 2021. So in the console space, they don't have a major first party game to my knowledge.
Hmm.
And on top of that, they also just don't have Xbox. They have console exclusives, but there is no definitive Xbox exclusive anymore. It's very bizarre.
I don't know. All I know is Phil Spencer, you're a pretty good dude. I like you. uh, yeah, that's nice. Fark. Definitely, one big thing that people have been fighting about a lot, just online and shit, is the inevitable increase in the price of games. We touched on this ever so slightly earlier, but I mean, I think we're just gonna have to come to terms with the reality that games are going to cost more dollars in the coming years. It's just,
And
they're costing exponentially more to make, to
more than you
print,
can imagine.
to market. Exponentially more. And they've been charging the same flat price of $60 since the NES. You know, Nintendo set that standard
There was a
way
ten
back then.
dollar price increase around the time the PlayStation 2 started becoming a thing. That's it.
Yeah, it's just in accounting for inflation, you know. Let's go back to the 90s. That would be like charging $25 or
Yeah.
$20 to $25 for the game back then as what we're paying now. It's just with inflation, we that's just what has to be done because they cost so much more now to make. You know, we're getting into the hundreds of millions in the budget now
So,
for AAA
uh,
games.
Final Fantasy 15 had
Hmm.
a $65 million budget.
Holy shit.
Uh, let's see.
So, let's look at this. The most expensive video games ever made. Ever
100
made. Yeah.
Fallout 4 had a $120 million budget.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we're talking about games right now, Final Fantasy and Fallout, that are damn near guaranteed uh, to sell an astronomical amount of copies. Now, let's
Mm.
talk about something like. Mm, let's talk about Ghost of Tsushima. What was its budget? Now, obviously, Ghost of Tsushima sold a shitload of copies, way more than anyone expected. But was it guaranteed to? Fuck no.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely not. I can't find Ghost of Tsushima.
As a litmus test, the Deadpool game from 2013, which you can see here on the stream if you're watching on video,
Licensing.
$100 million. GTA 4, $100 million. Max Payne 3, 105 million. Final Fantasy 7. Uh, holy shit. There's no way the original apparently, according to this list, was $114 million. And just going way, let's look at the tippy top, the most expensive. $265 million to develop Grand Theft Auto 5. That is so much more than any movie, anything else. And that shipped $60. The same price, which would have been equivalent to like $100 and something back in the 80s, early 90s. Games are just getting too expensive to make. If we're going to keep pushing, forward on the technological envelope, it's going to cost more. It's going to cost more to make, to develop. It's going to need more manpower. The price needs to go up in order for video games to be sustainable as a market, I think.
You said that Grand Theft Auto 5 was a $250 million budget?
$265 million.
So if Grand Theft Auto 5 would have only sold 5 million copies, I'm going to tell you right now, that's not even a small amount of copies. 5 million is, I believe that's The Last of Us Part 1. I think that's how many copies it's sold to date. If Grand Theft Auto 5 had only sold 5 million copies, it would have only broken even.
Yeah. That's just, like I said, it's getting to be too much. Video games are just costing too much. Marketing prices are going up. Wages are going up as well, and they require more people to supplement with those wages.
I was a bit off. The Last of Us Part 1 of 2018 has sold 17 million copies.
Nice.
Which even if Grand Theft Auto had sold only 17 million copies, it still only would have been barely above breaking even. Is the point here. So it's like a game like Grand Theft Auto, which can guarantee that it sells 100 million units, which even for Grand Theft Auto, I'd say was by no way a guarantee. I think everyone expected Grand Theft Auto 5 to sell well. I don't think anyone expected it to become the biggest thing ever.
Oh yeah. Holy shit. It's coming to PS5. Great. Supposedly ground up. Cool. It still sells like hotcakes. I was looking at the live streams, the PlayStation Showcase and the other one or whatever a month or so ago. A good third of the chat was just GTA 6, GTA 6, GTA 6, GTA 6 when this sold, again, more than pretty much anything else ever made. It is crazy.
Yep, Grand Theft Auto 5 has outsold every game, every movie, every album, every fucking painting. If your thing is consumer media, then Grand Theft Auto 5 is at the top of the ladder. That's your target.
I'm still in awe at how much that game sold and how successful GTA Online was, despite one of the roughest online launches of anything. And even now, not being in my opinion, the greatest state, it's probably the most unbalanced online game I have ever seen. And free roam online stuff doesn't need to be balanced necessarily, but holy shit, I don't see how anybody that is new to the game can play it now. Just getting into it without buying $100 worth of shark card shit. I don't see how anybody can get into it now, but people are, regardless. It's crazy. It's just fascinating. Yeah.
So while we're still somewhere in the ballpark of games with this, let's talk about how Nvidia has once again not had a good. Now, this time there's probably a very good reason.
Mm-hmm.
People are selling the new Nvidia, the RTX 3080, for $50,000 on eBay.
The fuck?
Yeah.
Is that their brand new thing? Is this like a scalper deal?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna bring up eBay. I want to look at this. Because that seems crazy. What's the original, price?
Let me find out. I'm sure it's thousands of dollars, but...
Jesus. RTX 3070, 3080, 3090 price release. There we go. So, just... Jesus Christ. So what about this exact? Holy fucking shit! Okay, let's pull this up real quick. GeForce RTX 3080 Trinity 10 gigabyte GDDR6 RAM, whatever. $1,119. Almost gone. 1,699. 1,500. Holy shit, this is expensive. EVGA XE3 Ultra RTX $2,000. Oof. So what's the point about this? It's scalpers and such, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a topic we meant to go into with
Mhm.
the I
Yeah.
I probably should have captured this while it was still up, but at one point there was a bid for an RTX 3080 that had gone up to $50,000.
God damn. Is a Bitcoin miner planning to use that? Like,
Yeah, I don't, oh, here we
ooh.
go.
Mm.
Art Nvidia. Yeah, I've got. If you scroll down,
Yeah.
looking at the eBay page, you can see someone posting it for $15,000.
Oh my god, where is that? Trying to find it.
Scroll down if you're looking for an RTX
1999,
3080 on eBay.
1600, 1700, 2300. 23.99 for the 3080. This
Keep
launched
going.
at $700.
Keep going.
2300.
It's down there. I'm looking at it right now.
Holy shit. $15,000.
There you go.
Oh my god. For the 3080, this card released at $700.
Mm-hmm.
Do you love scalpers? I love scalpers. This is amazing.
I think they're scum. I was say, if you are a person who is using a bot to buy as many PlayStation 5s as you can get your hands on, so you can then sell them to people on eBay for 100% regular price, you're scum. Uh, Capitalism, sure. Free market, I believe in your right to do it. You're still a cocksucker. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, just fuck. Who wants this that bad enough to buy that?
Well, apparently somebody.
Apparently.
It's the whole PC hardware arms race is actually pretty insane.
Look at this. NVIDIA RTX 3080 last two. I know what I got here. Extra soft paper edition opening bag. It's
Thanks for the content.
it's rolls of toilet paper with NVIDIA RTX 3080 listed. Oh, that's fucking hilarious. This guy knows what he's doing. Fucking hats off to you, Alto Hilton.
Yeah. So, in case anyone out there is a tad bit frustrated by Sony's whole idea to have private reservations for the PlayStation 5 be a thing, there's your reason. Yeah. Scalper's paradise.
It happened again, like what, 55 seconds, completely sold out on all areas. And I will say it again because I'm really happy about it. The strategy of reserving ones for a select audience of what they consider to be loyal customers. I think that is the way forward for pre-orders, for sure. I definitely think that is the way forward.
Yeah, because they can make that better as time goes on. You know, they could find a way to guarantee pretty much everyone who is a consistent player on their platforms gets one.
It is probably the most consumer-friendly thing about this generation coming up, aside from the releases. It's just, I'm really optimistic about the direction going forward with the future consoles. And just the more consumer-friendly we're trying to do right by the customer. Because there have been a lot of falters, especially in the past 10 years, in regards to consumer friendliness by gaming companies and manufacturers. I think we're taking good steps forward.
Oh, I'll tell you another thing.
Yeah.
That little the private reservation room that I was in when I was pre-ordering my PS5.
Yeah.
One console per person.
Yep.
This is in fact an anti-scout measure. It's like that proves it to me. They weren't allowing anybody to go in there and buy 5 PlayStation 5s with their private pre-order. That wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
Now you could buy up all the DualShock 4s. If you the DualSense, excuse me, you could buy up all the controllers if you wanted to, or the new 3D headset, which I'm going to be doing some research into because if that thing is better than the Astro for that price, then you can bet your ass I'll get it.
Which that's a shame. I just got my Astro a couple months ago. I absolutely love it, by the way.
Just so it's out there, our headsets will be compatible with the PS5. We're good in that.
Ah,
regard.
thank God. What about the Steel Series, the Arctis 7, that great, lovely thing you have covering your ears right now?
Don't know. I would hope so.
Oh God, I hope so. Because a lot of people consider it to be the best. I've tried it. I've tested yours. I really like it. It is so comfortable. We're not sponsored, by the way, in case that isn't obvious enough. But, oh my God, the Steel Series Arctis 7. I really like it.
So let me. This wouldn't have been an issue at
Yeah.
all if I would have owned a separate mic at the time. The Arctis Pro for the PlayStation 4 is the best headset you can get for the PlayStation 4. Problem with it is that the microphone is not compatible with the PlayStation 4, the built-in one, and that was Sony's doing, not SteelSeries. Don't
Yep.
take it out on SteelSeries. They broke it with a patch or with a software update for the PlayStation 4.
Yep, just made it incompatible.
Yeah.
Oh,
But if you have a separate standing mic for the PlayStation 4 and you want the best headset on the market for your PlayStation 4 and you've got $350 to throw at it, the SteelSeries Arctis Pro for the PS4, it doesn't get any better. It's the best one. I just ended up, taking mine back and getting an Astro A50, which is easily the second best. But
I love my A50.
Mm.
There is one slight issue with it, though, in that the volume things, there's little, like, rocker buttons on the side to control the voice chat volume compared to the game audio volume, and it will just, you can tap it once and it will slide all the way in one direction for some reason.
The
Eh.
the game and voice
Yeah.
chat modulator doesn't work at all.
Jeez.
It doesn't work, but that's okay. It's very functional with the PlayStation 4's built-in chat game audio slider. Fortunately,
And it's good. It's great. I love it. I absolutely love it. It is my favorite headset I've ever worn. The close second to me is these babies I'm using right now. The HyperX Cloud Flight headset. It has 3.5 millimeter audio jack compatibility and a microphone you can plug in and take out, and also a volume adjustment chat thing and everything. It's great. Uh, we're not sponsored by anything, but if you're looking for a good headset in the $100 budget, HyperX, Kingston, they make some great shit.
also Logitech, to my surprise, actually makes very good computer mouses.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
definitely.
But maybe a bit overpriced, maybe, but they're great mouses.
Oh yeah, I think they may have made my favorite keyboard ever. And that is this baby. I forget what it's called, but it's supposed to be a gamer keyboard. Gamer keyboard, it has all the lights and the fancy stuff, but it's very uniform, like just a normal, just plain keyboard, and it's faster, and it doesn't have the obnoxious plastic armrests on it. It's just simple form factor. It's mechanical. It feels great to type with. It's whatever these switches are, they're my favorite. Period. They're like capacitive. They're almost like a trigger. Like they have a certain travel and then they press down. Oh my god, this Logitech like normal form factor keyboard, whatever it is, I forget what it's called. It makes me want to spurt my gird all over the place. It's a really good keyboard.
So,
Yeah.
unfortunately, we have blasted through all of our topics.
Oh, that's just fine.
So, is
King, are you here? You doing okay, man? Yeah.
well, we're going to called a rain check on King. Don't really know what happened there.
Yeah.
We apologize for it, but I'm sure he's got his reasons.
Mm-hmm.
So in Liu, oh, that's not the right term. To avoid moving in circles here, should we move on to our positivity corner before we wrap up? Gush about something you like for a bit.
Sure. I think we've covered pretty much everything we wanted to talk about. Think it's a good time to wrap up now. Nice 11 o'clock, all that. So, the question is, what do we want to talk about, though? I'm not sure. I had some ideas earlier, and honestly, I forgot. I'm unprepared. So, you can go first if you want.
So for my positivity corner, I'll say the thing I like for the tonight. I'm gonna say maybe we have already kind of gone over this,
Yeah.
but I'm gonna say good headsets.
Yeah.
It's
Oh
like the
my.
most underrated thing in video games right now. I didn't play video games with a headset until Sony launched their first party wireless headset for the PlayStation 4. And what's weird is that the PS3 had its own, it had the Pulse Audio thing. But I'll never forget booting up that PlayStation wireless gold thing for the first time
Mm-hmm.
and hearing all of the ambience in Bloodborne that you never hear through TV speakers because
Mm-hmm.
TV speakers are notoriously shitty. You know, uh, uh, I love playing Red Dead Redemption 2 with my Astro on and just like the music, hearing water flowing in the distance, the birds flying overhead, uh, horses and wagons in the distance, wind coming over the mountains when you're up north. It's very it helps you get into a state of zen when you're playing certain games.
Oh yeah.
Just being disconnected from all your real world stresses and
Mm-hmm.
especially in those moments when you're playing Red Dead and it's just, oh, I'm really relaxed right now, just listening to the campfire crackle, and
Mm-hmm.
Crips skinning deer and the dogs being all happy and there's just animals all around your camp and it's a world you wish you could still escape to in reality
It
without
makes me
paying.
want to go camping in real life so bad.
Yeah,
Just go out and just, bring a tent kit, a walking stick, and my handy dandy bolt action, just in case any bears or something get any ideas. And just hang out in nature for a few days. I want to do that so badly. We live in prime country for that stuff.
mm.
For me,
So yeah,
yeah.
good headsets. That's my thing I like.
hmm For me, I think I'm gonna have to go with just coming out here from my home way down south has been an experience. There are ups and there are downs to it. But easily one of my favorite things about it being up here all the way in the Pacific Northwest. It's some of the most awe-inspiring nature I think I've ever seen. Like I remember on the road trip back to this place going through the Teton National Park, I think it was, and just seeing the huge sheer cliffs and the little communities way out in the mountains. And I was just in awe at it. I felt like I was on the frontier. Like I was sitting in the dinky little
Yep.
car, just going back. I felt like I was in an isolated, like, time bubble, almost.
Yeah,
Just going
Wyoming
through,
is
looking back at the frontier of what a lot of this country used to look like, especially in this region. And it was
it's
just
amazing.
awe-inspiring. I really appreciate the nature and stuff out here. Mountains still scare me a little bit, I'm gonna be honest, because I grew up in a place that's extremely flat. There are no mountains. I'm not used to looking into the horizon and, oh, hey, there's just giant rock and then going up and whatever. But it's still just so beautiful.
Yeah, Wyoming is that area in particular, it's amazing how relatively untouched it is.
Oh yeah.
It's wild. It shows you how much people don't want to live there. They want to go there and see it, but as far as living in some of those little isolated towns in that kind of winter,
Hmm. I mean, we've only really seen what when we went through there, like 2 towns and a truck stop, and we went through a good portion of the state. Like we didn't just cut the corner or anything. We went through Wyoming.
yeah. I mean, even
It's
if you
almost
live in
nothing.
its biggest city, which is Cheyenne, it's like
Yeah.
that city is like it's still surrounded by mountains.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's this is a fascinating area for me as a lowly southerner who's never had big hills or mountains. It's just very awe-inspiring, you know. Nature's beautiful. And I do want to say, you still can't escape civilization in Wyoming. When we were going through in the dead of winter, picking me up on my long trip from back home down south, we got pulled over in Wyoming in the middle of nowhere.
Miles away from fucking anything, and I get fucking pulled over.
Pulled.
We're going 5 miles an hour over the speed limit.
Yeah. Middle of winter, we're talking like 4 a.m.
No, this is at 7 a.m.
Yeah, early in the morning anyway, you know, the sun had just come up, and we're just going in this isolated place in the middle of nowhere, and it's just cop.
Yep.
Your sign's going a bit too fast in these
I
hills.
mean, just for the perspective, like truly, we passed the closest actual town, which I believe is called Rock Valley, about 100 miles, almost, probably closer to 60 miles after that town, pulled over,
Yeah.
and then Idaho Falls was still a healthy 3 hours,
Oh yeah.
To the west.
Just got way out there in the middle of nowhere and pulling people over for speeding. I wonder how much that guy gets paid for his patrol route to go 100 miles out into nowhere. Because
Probably
man,
not.
probably not enough. Yeah, like imagine if you're a police officer and you get into some real shit way out there. There is no saving you.
No.
If you can't save yourself.
If he would have pulled over someone that like had a warrant out for their arrest and was just like, I'm not going back, and they would have fucking shot him,
Yeah.
it would have been hours.
Before there
At
was
the
any
very
inkling.
least.
Yeah.
Yeah, until they knew for a fact he'd been shot, unless he could have radioed.
Yeah. Just way out there. And yet, 5-0 is still on our tail. Oh, and I just remember we were all exhausted at that point. I had been traveling for like 28 hours at that point. You know, you had driven a good 5 hours out to that little place in Nebraska.
15.
We were exhausted out of our gourds, and then it's just wee woo, wee woo, wee woo. I snap awake, I look out of the back window in just utter confusion. What the fuck? I haven't seen a town in well over like an hour or two. It's just the police. I thought I was hallucinating. Like, do I have some traumatic memory with the police that I
This is
can't
the place
bring
where
back?
you see buffalo and antelopes jump across the road.
Yeah.
American antelope, pronghorn, and cops. This
Bison and pigs. Woo. Yeah, no, it just way out there early in the morning, sun's barely come up, and just wee woo, interrupting our nice quiet travel through the middle of nowhere, Wyoming. It's just, sir, did you know that you were speeding? Oh yeah, by how much? I don't remember much about the interaction.
was
I think we were
nice.
just too tired to really pay any mind to it. You know, you
I mean,
got whatever.
he was nice because I mean, it wasn't just the speeding. At that time, my insurance was also out of date, so he could have given me 2 or 3 tickets. He just gave me the speeding ticket.
Oh,
But he probably couldn't have been bothered to deal with the insurance himself, him being in a different state than me.
yeah,
all that.
and
It's
stand
just
out there
like-
in the freezing for who knows how long to do the paperwork for it. Because this is dead of winter. This is like late November.
Oh yeah,
this
that was a
is
sketchy drive.
fucking cold. I don't understand how you maneuvered that fucking tiny ass car like that with normal factory wheels
I just knew the
through a
car.
blizzard.
I am mechanically apt, and I knew the car very well.
Yeah. We're talking middle of the night in a blizzard, 200 miles from anything. Again, in a blizzard, you can't see shit. And somehow we made it out the other side all right.
Let me tell you something that happened while you
Yeah.
were asleep.
Hmm.
There was at one point it was so bad that I couldn't see like 10, 20, 30 feet in front of me.
Ooh.
And at some point, the tire pressure light popped on for no reason. I got out and checked the tire. But I got out. I pulled the car off the road, and maybe 5 seconds after I got the car off the road, a full-blown semi blows right past one I had no idea was behind us. Blows right past us, going 80.
It's divine intervention there. Oh my god. Woo. Which, hey, fucking that trucker, oh my god, 80 in a blizzard. Can't see.
Man, those guys have some serious time constraints.
Oh yeah.
Gotta keep them timelines, brother, or I don't get my commission. I don't care about your dinky little pussy car, you fucking liberal. You think they're gonna catch me? Nah.
Oh. Yeah, that ride, all in all, was probably the most entertaining, like, day-long period of my entire life of just shenanigans. That one gas station, we were out in the middle of nowhere, the gas station hotel. I'm just going in, I'm getting like a snack, and I come out, and there's just this lady. You got a cigarette? Just begging me, like I've never seen before, for a fucking cigarette. We're talking like 60 miles out from anywhere, this lady at this gas station truck stop hotel. She's like, you need a cigarette? And she got on this whole sad sob story about how she's running from being beaten and abused. And I was just like, what the fuck? Please, I just need a cigarette. And I'm like, miss, I'm sorry. And she's just pushing the issue. She almost blocked me from getting into the car,
I would have been
begging for a cigarette. And I'm just like, I'm sorry. I
would've been
don't.
sweet.
Yeah.
Someone stepped between me and my car while begging me for money or cigarettes.
Yeah, in the middle of nowhere. Some of the most wild places you will ever see are gas station, like truck stops, just way out from anywhere. And there's a good chance you can get abducted in those places too.
Well, not by the locals.
Not by the locals, but by the fucking road bandits, because they do still exist in some capacity. I mean, what are you gonna do if you're 100 miles from anywhere? Someone in a mask pulls you over and robs you blind. What are you gonna do? You're gonna call? Like, oh yeah, they were in this kind of car. If they cover, like, what are they gonna do against people like that? As far as law enforcement. 2A. Self-defense. Yeah. But aside from that, I mean, there's not much you can do to combat that, and there's not much for these people to get caught. I mean, there's tons of people who have gone around the country, you know, posing as truckers with semis. They've just locked people in the back of them to do whatever they want with them. The fucking wild parts of America are still pretty wild. There's still some shady and interesting characters you'll meet at just gas station truck shops 100 miles from anywhere.
Well, you want to take us out, Bull, before we start walking in circles?
I think so. I think we've covered just about everything for tonight. I've had a good time. I hope you have too. And I hope you, watching, have had a good time as well. Have enjoyed this, content. I always appreciate your patronage. Leon, always appreciate your patronage. Thanks for stopping by. It's always nice.
This has
And,
been the internet, and we will probably catch you tomorrow.
probably. Yeah. Once again, thank you for sticking by, and we'll catch you guys around. Oh, and if you're on YouTube, like, subscribe, all that shit. We do the show somewhat regularly. We'd like it if you stopped in when we're live as well. But, yeah. Like, subscribe, whatever. And, yeah. That's about it. Goodbye. Have a good night, good morning, whatever. See ya.